Alright, we should be live, folks. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We have got the coverage for the Spa Grand Prix starting very soon. 13 minutes till we get underway for FP1. And then, of course, we will have qualifying. We'll have FP2 today and then FP3 tomorrow, qualifying after FP3. And then we will have the race as well. Yeah, these timings that are currently up on the screen, they are from last year. Let me just get this year's timing up. There we go. Let me, in fact, get rid of last year's timings completely. Okie dokie. Yeah, so there is the circuit for the drivers. 19 corners around here, one of the longest, in fact the longest circuit on the Formula 1 calendar, and there are 7 teams this weekend that have brought upgrades, quite possibly the biggest, in fact it is the most number of teams bringing upgrades to a race this season, 7 upgrades, and Red Bull, Aston Martin and Williams are not any of the teams that have brought upgrades. Aston Martin, of course, they brought pretty big upgrades last weekend out, so you wouldn't expect them to have another batch of upgrades for the Spa Grand Prix, and that's fair enough. But what we do have is Red Bull also not bringing upgrades. They also brought a big batch of upgrades last weekend, but the thing is that their upgrades didn't work as well as the Aston Martin upgrades did, and hence they have been struggling a little bit. So we'll wait and see what comes from a Red Bull. And Williams, they're just a little bit lacking behind in their development. So I guess they'll be bringing their upgrades first race back at Zandvoort rather than the race before the summer break. Yeah. And the circuit looks like an Uzi. Indeed it does. I've seen that quite a few times posted around the internet. There's quite a lot to talk about because in the off season there has been a lot. Well, not the off season. In this 1 week break between Hungary and Belgium, we've had a whole lot of action go on off the track. There's been so many things that have happened, and let's just dive right into it. We have got, of course, Max Verstappen. There have been so many. He's been talking very critically of Red Bull. There have been a lot of rumours coming out of Red Bull, coming from other people that know people inside the Red Bull team, saying, the team isn't working well together, and Helmut Marko and Jos Verstappen aren't working well, and they're having issues between the team. And it seems like everything has all come crashing down very quick. Well, not very quickly. They've had 2 years and a half of massive dominance over everyone else. But at some point that did have to come to an end. And it looks like it may have just come to an end last weekend. So lots and lots of drama that has been going on at Red Bull. Verstappen has been banned from sim racing late at night by the Red Bull team. Now, Verstappen, he did do great in Imola. He stayed up the night before Imola, went and won the race by, I think, a couple seconds, and he was sim racing very late at night the day before Imola. Red Bull seemed to have taken a bit of a stance on this situation with Max, doing 24-hour endurance racing on iRacing the night before a F1 race. And he is, he's been told now that he's no longer allowed to do that. And I guess fair enough, they're paying Max Verstappen 40 million or something ridiculous along those lines for him to drive at Red Bull. And if there's even anything that can affect his performance by 2, 3, 4, 5%, like staying up late the night before and not having perfect sleep or things along those lines, then I think it's well within their rights to say, no, Max, you're not allowed to race late at night. You can, if you want to race and the race finishes at 11 p.m. Sure enough, you can go ahead and go to sleep. But if the race goes up to 4 a.m., we're not going to allow you to race because it will affect your performance, and we've paid for your best in the grid driving for Sunday. Yeah, Verstappen banned from sim racing, so he's resorting to commentating on F1 while he's keeping it. Yeah, I don't think Verstappen will be commentating on F1 anytime soon. I think once he's done with the sport, he will totally, just leave. But, we'll wait and see what happens. Poor Oliver Behrman has to deal with Ocon next season. Indeed, yes, Esteban Ocon has been signed for the Haas team for next year. Their two drivers will be Oliver Behrman and Esteban Ocon. Of course, Ollie Behrman, he does not have that much experience in Formula One. He's only driven the Ferrari once in race conditions, so fair enough that they're going to need a more experienced driver alongside him. I don't know what was wrong with Kevin Magnussen or Nico Hülkenberg. Both drivers have been doing great. The team has been on an upward trajectory. They haven't had that much squabbling amongst themselves. In fact, K-Mag has been taking penalties and defending on behalf of Nico Hülkenberg so Hülkenberg can go score points. So in fact, the drivers have been working very well together. Now, we don't know what's been happening behind the scenes, but of course something has caused that switch at Haas that have caused them to, Nico Hülkenberg has already been signed, so fair enough, but you could have kept Kevin Magnussen. And yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with K-Mag. Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in, by the way. If you are enjoying the live stream, be sure to hit the like button. Really does help out the channel, especially when you do it at the start of the stream. Yeah. Can't see him staying at Red Bull. Ooh, that is Max staying at Red Bull, yes or no? That is a tough question to answer, really. I think Max will stay with Red Bull for next year. He has got a contract. There will be a break clause somewhere in the contract, but what he will do most likely is stay with Red Bull until the new regulations come out, then find out which team is the fastest, and Max Verstappen will be on the phone immediately, being like, "Oh, can I drive for you?" And which team would turn down Max Verstappen to be part of their driver lineup? Don't think any teams would say no to that. Yeah, so I think that's what's going to happen with Max Verstappen. Potentially Carlos without a seat, we don't know yet. Now, the Haas seat has been tied up with Esteban Ocon. There is still a place open at Williams. There is still potential for Sainz to go to Mercedes if Kimi Antonelli does not make it into Formula One. Yeah, who knows? Lawson deserves a Red Bull seat, or Yuki. Yeah, Yuki has been performing great. He's been doing better than Ricciardo, so he should ideally get the seat at Red Bull. If Perez gets fired, is Perez going to get fired? Don't know. Crash in qualifying and the car was beyond repair. Did start the race, but yeah, the mechanics would have stayed up all night to fix the car. It was quite a serious amount of damage. I don't know if it was all night worth of damage, because there was only, I think, the rear left suspension and the front left suspension were damaged, so maybe they could have fixed it before the night began, but nonetheless it was a lot of hard work for the mechanics to fix Perez's crash, and I don't know how much longer they will keep tolerating Sergio Perez's incidents and all of these different things. And yeah, we'll see. We will see. Cannot see the turn 2 flag. Oh yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show the turn 2 flag actually. Interesting, yeah, the turn 5 one's off the screen, but turn 2, not sure why it is not there. I think it's actually underneath turn number 19, but yeah, you can't see it because they're both on top of each other. Oh well. Sargent to Red Bull. I mean, yeah, Sargent, of course, we've had that stat floating around for quite a while. Lots of people have mentioned it. Logan Sargent out-qualified Sergio Perez now 8 times this season. It is quite frankly incredible that Sergio Perez is still in that seat, given the fact that Logan Sargent, who's not out-qualified his teammate, I think more than once this season, is out-qualified Sergio Perez 8 times. Quite the surprise, isn't it? Okay, what else have we got going on this weekend? Well, of course, we have had 7 winners so far this season, which is up. We've had 13 races 12 races, in the season so far, and Oh wait, have we 12 or have we had 13? Let me just double check that. We have had... Kimi, I think, isn't ready for Merc. Yeah, neither do I. Given that he hasn't had a season in Formula 1 yet, he hasn't even driven a Formula 1 car in race conditions, and yeah, just a general lack of experience being put into a team that is right at the top of this pack pretty much is not the best idea in the world. Yeah, we've had 13 races so far, and out of those races, 7 drivers have won, 7 different drivers, so a whole lot of action, we can say that for sure. Lots of unpredictability. The teams at the top are very, very close together, and the last time we have had 7 drivers win in a season, well, actually there were 8 drivers that won in the 2012 season. I stand corrected. I did a community post. A couple of people pointed that out. But up until this point in the season, so 13 races in, there have only been 7 drivers that have won in 2012. In 2012 as well. So, nonetheless, it is very, very, very close. 2022. Why am I saying 2012? It was 2012 went all the way to the final race. Seb Vettel had to make his way through the field. He got spun around on the opening lap, had to make his way through the field to win the championship. A very, very exciting race, and I have a feeling that this one might go quite close. I don't know yet. We'll see what Verstappen can do. We knew that the Red Bull is worse in these sort of slow speed circuits. They weren't that quick in Monaco compared to the Ferraris. They weren't that good. They're predicted to be pretty bad in Singapore as well. So maybe Hungary was another off weekend for them, but that dominance that they had has totally evaporated, and now they are just they're swinging between, maybe we're the quickest team depending on circuit conditions, maybe we're the second quickest team depending on circuit conditions, and so it makes it a lot more exciting, of course. But Max Verstappen's potential championship, his potential 4th championship, is very much at stake now. McLaren will probably come away with the most points this weekend. Of course, last weekend they came away with a lot of points. They came away with 43 points, coming in with a 1-2, and Max Verstappen, a little bit further down the order, did not help his chances by having that incident with Lewis Hamilton. Okay, I'm going to have a quick sip of water, and I shall be back in just a second, but practice will be getting underway very, very shortly, folks. And then, we'll have drivers coming out into the circuit. Track temperature 36 degrees, air temperature 21 degrees. There's a nice bit of sunshine in Belgium today, and essentially, it's looking good for some practice. And there we go, practice. That 50 seconds to the green flag is the message to George Russell and Lewis Hamilton over the radio. Very nice. Let's turn off the timer, move the likes, and the drivers will be coming out in dry conditions. Also, another thing to keep in mind, we do have rain forecast for tomorrow. We will probably have rain in qualifying. Not sure about FP3, but we probably will also have rain in FP3, which is, well, very, very exciting. Can't wait for that to happen. But yeah, nonetheless, we're going to have another very exciting weekend. Honestly, this season is going to be great. Just, you can tell by the number of drivers that have won so far in the season. 7 drivers winning. The race has been closer than ever. Leads, drivers in first place only winning by a second, 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. Yeah. All right, there we go. We have drivers coming out to the end of the pit lane, and we shall be underway for some practice very, very shortly. Very nice. In fact, I'm going to get a quick sip of water as well. Yeah. All right. Yep, there we go. We have drivers out onto the circuit. Yeah. Right, folks, if you have any questions or anything like that in the chat, be sure to let me know, and I will do my best to answer. In fact, considering there aren't that many people compared to what they normally are during race conditions, yeah, I'll make sure to try and answer every single one of your questions. Still no water sponsorship. Unfortunately, no water sponsorship up until now. To be honest, I haven't really been looking. I've been looking a little bit more for the VPN side of things, but let's wait and see. F1 Gamer, who do you think will win the championship next season, 2025? Ooh, that is a tough question because there are so many different factors that can play into that. I'm not going to give you a one-worded answer. I'm going to at least explain my thought process a little bit. And so Red Bull, we know that they were the fastest team. They've been getting slower and slower, or been getting relatively slower and slower compared to the other teams. McLaren, very much an upward trend for them. Mercedes have brought very big upgrades this weekend, so we may see them potentially being a threat for next year as well. And Ferrari, there's always the looming Ferrari next year will be our year trademark that has been floating around since 2007. And it's very, very tough to say, honestly. But if I'm going to have to just make a guess, I'm going to go with Oscar Piastri. I think Oscar Piastri will win next year's championship. Honestly, that's off no sort of... I just think McLaren, they're going to be on the upward trajectory. They're going to do pretty well this season as well. And I think Oscar Piastri, with his cool, calm, composed mind and just, very good driving skills, I think that will just get the edge on Lando Norris when it comes to championship performance. So, who knows? Who knows? All right. No rookies no rookies. Normally, one thing to point out today, we have got 7 teams with upgrades, and usually when they do bring upgrades, they do want a sort of reliable baseline to compare their upgrades to, and because of that, they normally don't send the rookies out when they have upgrade packages, so, just in case, if essentially so they can get an accurate read on whether the upgrade package is good or bad, and that is the reason why we probably have no rookies this weekend, even though the Formula 1, Formula 2 and Formula 3 are all racing at Spa. It is a long track indeed, it is. It is the longest circuit on the calendar. Any rain for this weekend? Yes, there is rain forecast for Saturday. There's a 70-80% chance of rain according to the forecast today. We'll wait and see what it is tomorrow morning. We'll wait and see. Oh, we've got a yellow flag. Never mind, that has been cleared up. I think someone was just going slowly. The rain, pretty high chance of rain. The yellow flag was caused by Daniel Ricciardo. He was going into turn number 1, misses the apex a little bit, but that's fine. The drivers normally do that, but he got up on the curb when he was accelerating out. There were loads of fans stood right next to the barriers, and they got a nice shot of Daniel Ricciardo spinning. But yeah, he went up on the sausage curb on the exit of turn number 1, had a little spin, and that is why that's why there was a little yellow flag up on the screen for a second. Okay. Ocon have a problem? No, Ocon. I think he did have a little problem when he was coming out of the pit lane, but that has been resolved. And he's out on this. Well, he's come back into the pits now, but they should resolve that pretty quickly. It seemed just like a software malfunction rather than any sort of engine issue. Can you make the circles for the driver's initials a bit smaller? I would make them smaller, but I presume that you're watching this on your computer, and there's quite a lot of people watching it on their phones. So it's a little bit small if I make it. Even if I make it a little bit smaller now, then the people watching on their phones, they have a bit of a harder time being able to read stuff. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but I hope it's all right. I might make it a little smaller, but I'll have to do that after the end of the session. Hey man, how are you? Doing pretty good actually. Pretty good. Yeah, very very hyped about Formula One. But of course, we do have the mid-season break. 3 weekends of no Formula One, and then we will be back at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. What is the news on tyre strategies if no rain? Normally at Spa, we do have a one-stop strategy. There is tyre wear that's been a little bit higher than normal in previous years. We've had a bit of resurfacing done at Spa, I think. Don't quote me on that. But normally it is a one-stop strategy at Spa, and I suspect the teams will be doing the same sort of thing this year round as well. Yuki has a Valorant helmet. I do not know if Yuki has a Valorant helmet. Um, if any of you folks that don't know, Valorant is a team shooter game, first person shooter game. I did play it a bit, in fact, when it came out, but no, I have not seen Yuki Tsunoda's helmet. F1 Gamer greater than Sky Sports. What can I say? What can I say? Very much do appreciate it, folks. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing. It really does go a long way to helping out the channel. Spa without rain, do you guys remember 2021 Belgian Grand Prix? Indeed, I do. In fact, I remember commentating the 4 hours of a red flag. It was quite the exciting commentary session, if I'm going to be honest. I remember, I think we figured out there was some online quiz game that would let you would test your knowledge on every single F1 driver that's won a race, or every single championship winner in all of the previous years, and I think we did that during the 4-hour red flag in 2021. Sector 3 bars are hidden. Indeed they are. How have they just become hidden? Because they were previously up on the screen. Very very interesting. Right folks, let me just fix that on the screen for you a sec. There we go. The FP3. Oh no, never mind. That's why. I'm on quali. I need to be on testing and practice, and that's why. Yeah. Give me a sec. There we go. We are on the testing and practice data. Slightly different setup for qualifying, slightly different setup for testing and practice. Just gives you a little bit more relevant information at the correct times. But yeah, as you can see on the top right of the screen, well, yeah, on the right side column, there is the speed trap speeds as the drivers go down the main straight. Drivers approaching 340 kilometers per hour going. Oh no, sorry, not speed trap. Sector 1 speeds. Sector 1 ends just before the braking zone, down towards the. Oh, what's the chicane called? I forgot. Oh, how have I forgot this? This was like. Basically, going down the Camel Straight is where the Sector 1 ends, and just before the braking zone is chicane, there is the Sector 1 speed trap line, and as you can see all the top speeds there. We'll see if the driver's using DRS, if they're not using DRS. If the drivers are using DRS, it will look like what George Russell and Pierre Gasly's DRS things look like at this moment, or now Valtteri Bottas's DRS. They just light up a little bit. And yeah, just gives you a bit of information about the top speeds. It will be very, very critical in qualifying tomorrow to see who's getting a tow, who's not, how much of an impact does the tow make on all of these other things. Because going down the Camel Straight, the tow is absolutely enormous. The amount of lap time that the drivers gain. Ooh, we've had a little bit of a moment from Oscar Piastri there as he went through turn number 13. He had a bit of a moment on the exit on the mid corner of turn number 13, just the rear snapping out a little bit. He totally got that under control by the end of the corner, but a little bit surprising there from Oscar Piastri. Well, to be honest, it is practice. The drivers are meant to be exploring and finding the limits, and Oscar Piastri is doing exactly that. The Mercedes have been running very, very low to the ground. Lacombe chicane, that is exactly what it's called. Thank you for that. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the Mercedes, they've been running very, very low to the ground. We've just been watching a couple of the replays, and quite a few sparks have been flying out the bottom of the Mercedes as they went up through Eau Rouge and Radion, which are turn number 2 and turn number 3, and essentially going through there, because the car is going through quite a very, very steep uphill, there's a lot of compression that happens on the suspension, and the car really dips down, and because of that, the skid plate gets worn out a lot more than normal, and the Mercedes are going to have to deal with that, because in USA last year we had a couple of drivers, I think it was Leclerc and Hamilton, get disqualified for excessive wear on the skid plate, on the bottom of their car, skid block, skid plate. And once again, we're watching the replay of Hamilton, and there's loads of skidding and touching as he drives down the back straight as well. So yeah, drivers do have to be careful about that. And yeah, I think Mercedes will probably increase the ride height a little bit before they get disqualified for the race on Sunday. Okay. What else have we got going on? Max Verstappen up there at the top of the timings, of course. This is practice, not too much to read into, folks. Of course, it's FP1 as well. The drivers will be doing qualifying simulations in FP2, and maybe a little bit of quali sims right now, but FP2 will be the main time where the drivers do the qualifying simulations. And the other thing is, it will probably be raining for tomorrow's quali, so the drivers, this quali sim might not be the most accurate thing in the world. And another thing to keep in mind is, the teams know that it will most likely be raining tomorrow, so we could have a potential, some teams going for a wet setup, so they will do great in qualifying, but then wet setups tend to have a little bit more downforce than the dry setups do, just to help with the grip conditions as the drivers are driving around. And the problem with having a wet setup in dry conditions at Spa especially is that every little bit of downforce is an extra little bit of drag, and that drag really adds up when you're spending nearly 60% of the lap, 60-70% of the lap at full throttle. Any sort of extra drag penalty that you have is massively critical and really does hamper your performance. So we'll see what the teams decide to do in terms of downforce levels and drag levels tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone qualify on pole tomorrow but then fall really far back through the pack because their downforce levels are a little bit too high. And yeah, who knows. Oh yeah, Max potentially, I don't know if it's totally confirmed, but Max may be getting a 10-place grid penalty. There have been quite a lot of talks about it for a brand new engine at Spa. This is one of the best circuits to get a brand new engine, of course, because power also very, very, very helpful when you spend 70% of the lap at full throttle. So, is it confirmed? Okay. But yeah, Max will be getting a 10-place grid penalty for that, and that means he can just push his car that extra little bit harder, push the engine a little bit harder as he is driving around for qualifying in the race. And that will definitely help him out, especially at this circuit. Maybe less so at Zandvoort, where there aren't that many long straights, but at this circuit especially. When will he serve the penalty? He will serve the penalty on the grid. Yeah, if he qualifies in 7th position, he'll start 17th. If he qualifies in 5th position, he'll start 15th. Yeah. How long is Nico's contract with Sauber, starting in 2025? Unfortunately, I do not know how long that is. I would suspect it would be a 2-year long contract. But let's see. Let me just check for you there. What else have we got going on? Yeah, Max Verstappen, he has won, starting right at the back at Spa. You know, it's not unheard of. This circuit is really good for overtaking, given the fact that the Camel Straight is absolutely enormous. It really does help out. So he should be doing fine nonetheless, because this is a good circuit to have an extra engine, take that penalty, because it won't compromise you too much, whereas in Monaco it would compromise you too much. Charles Leclerc talking to his engineer, saying, please don't talk to me on fast laps. Yeah, interesting, but fairly typical, isn't it? Engineers talking when drivers are on their fast laps, and drivers being like, don't do that, never do that, please. It is a multi-year contract. Now let me check how many years it is. Sky Sports F1, they have said 3 years. Oh wait, no. It says 2026 and beyond. So I suspect that means a 3-year contract, 2025, 2026, and 2027, as a 2026 and beyond. Yeah. Max will be penalised for taking a new engine this weekend. That's what he'll be penalised for. Alright, Yuki Tsunoda currently quickest down the straights. It looks like he would have had a bit of a slipstream, doing 341 Ks down the straight. But of course, Daniel Ricciardo doing 340s as well. So both AlphaTauris, they have been, consistently 10 kilometers per hour quicker than everyone else. If you're looking at George Russell 333, Lewis Hamilton 340, Piastri 327, Norris 328. So yeah, nearly 10 kilometer per hour difference going down the straights. But this is the thing, as you can see, quite a few drivers are back in the garage. They'll be experimenting with downforce levels. They'll be trying to find out what's the best over, a full race distance, what's the best for quali, what's the best for tyre wear, and all of these different things. And then they will come on a final decision when they get into parc fermé conditions for the start of qualifying. Okay. Teams may go from bad to good to bad all the time. They may have a better car next year when Lewis joins. Indeed, they might. Ferrari. Lewis might be regretting his decision a little bit for joining Ferrari when Mercedes are doing quite well now. But we'll wait and see. And I'm sure Lewis won't be too disappointed given the fact that he does have a $100 million contract with Ferrari as well. Can we see the mini sectors? I think I'll keep it there for now. But if there's loads of people that want mini sectors, I will change it. But I think as of now, it seems to be doing just fine. I think the mini sector is a lot more important for quali, whereas in practice it really doesn't matter all too much. But if you guys would like, then I'll pop them up on the screen. Yeah, you would probably be stressing out a little bit, but I'm sure Lewis is having a little bit of conversations with Ferrari and what they expect next year's car to be like. We've had Alex Albon go a little bit wide on the exit of turn number 7 there, trying to get a good exit going down into turn number 10 and 11. And yeah, very, very, not something that you see every day from Alex Albon, but yeah, nice. He's just pushing the limits, isn't he? Fairly typical for the drivers in practice. Nothing too much to read into. We are 20 minutes into this practice session. We've got 40 minutes remaining. And as of now, everyone has done a lap, but most drivers coming back into the pits now, changing a bit of their setups, and then they'll be going out doing a couple more long runs. Adrian Newey has not confirmed anything. Also, there have actually been a little bit of rumours here. Adrian Newey, apparently, so there is Adrian Newey was the lead aerodynamicist at Red Bull. Now that is no longer the case. He has sort of stepped down and playing sort of an adversarial like basically he's just giving advice to people and he's helping out here and there and he's leading the overall direction, but he's not having a direct impact, at Red Bull. And I think the reason they're doing that is because Red Bull know that Adrian Newey is going to leave. They are essentially saying that, can you pass over some of your skills to our other aerodynamicists and then you can leave and hopefully we won't be too crippled by, you leaving our team. So what's been going on is that the new aerodynamicists that Red Bull has selected and the sort of the team of aerodynamicists that work with this new lead aero guy, apparently he's not been listening to Adrian Newey's feedback on the Red Bull on the RB17, and that's particularly strange normally because Adrian Newey, one of the best Formula One engineers of his time, he's been doing so much great work for so long now, and Adrian Newey's position now in the team is literally to train up other aerodynamicists below him so they can take his spot and fill his position. But the aerodynamicists below him aren't interested in listening to the greatest engineer's feedback. The greatest F1 engineer in history, probably. They don't want to listen to his feedback. So that might be a potential reason for the inner conflict and turmoil at Red Bull and why their performance are getting slower and slower. It is something to keep in mind. Normally Adrian Newey, he'll play quite a big impact on the upgrades that the team brings, and this upgrade package hasn't worked out. There have been countless upgrade packages for the Red Bull that have worked out and they've been doing great, but it's recently come out that people aren't listening to Adrian Newey's feedback and what he thinks is good for the car, and they're doing other things and what have you. Red Bull's previous upgrade package has not worked out as well as they would have expected. Now, is that a coincidence? Is that just by chance? I would like to say it is not a coincidence. I would like to say that these new aerodynamicists probably should, humble themselves a little bit and listen to what Adrian Newey has got to say, understand his perspective, and hopefully learn something from him, rather than doing their own thing. Now, while Adrian Newey has been at the team, I feel a lot of aerodynamicists potentially may have just been sat there under his shadow and not really benefiting too much from him, as Adrian Newey has been leading things for quite a while. And they feel like, they want to prove themselves. They don't want to just be listening to someone else telling them what to do. They want to bring their own ideas, and hopefully the team will get quicker. But there's an element of bringing your own ideas and doing what you think is correct. But there is also an element of listening to listening to engineers that for a fact are better than you, and taking their feedback and seeing what they say on things. So yeah, very, very interesting. Pierre Gasly, well, in fact, Alpine have got a brand new livery for this weekend. I think it's a one-off livery. It looks kind of nice. It's a bit different. In fact, totally different from their previous things. It's sort of grey and red rather than the blue and pink that we normally see from the Alpine team. But they've got a bit of flow vis on the car. They've brought upgrades, of course, and they're looking to see if those upgrades work. The Alpines, the Saubers, and Mercedes, they've all brought the biggest upgrade packages this weekend. There are other teams that have brought minor, small tweaks and changes. Haas have brought some upgrade packages. They've changed a couple of things on their rear wing geometry to maximize downforce while minimizing drag. Yeah, but not too many other things that have been going on in the other teams, apart from, of course, Alpine, Sauber, and Mercedes. They have brought the biggest upgrade packages this weekend. McLaren have also brought a couple of tweaks here and there, and yeah. The new Alpine livery looks like the Alfa Romeo from 2023. Indeed, it does. That is correct. I think the Alfa Romeo had a lot more black, and I think the Alpine livery has got a lot more grey on it, but yeah, fairly similar, to be honest. Black and grey all aren't that different. isn't too different in the end anyway. Right. We've got 2,000 people tuning into the live stream, folks. If you are enjoying, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Very much is appreciated. Gasly is underrated. Indeed, Gasly has been, I think if you guys remember back to 2020 to 2021, Pierre Gasly, of course, won his first race in Monza 2020. And then in 2021, he's been doing great with AlphaTauri, consistently being fourth fastest, consistently being up there in fourth, fifth position, and fourth, fifth, sixth position in qualifyings in races. So, yeah, Pierre Gasly, that time in the limelight has very much gone away. He's now gone to Alpine. The team is much slower than AlphaTauri has been. He's not been outperforming Esteban Ocon by huge strides and leaps every single race. But yeah, Pierre Gasly is a solid midfield driver, and I think he will also has potential to be a top team driver. His half a season at Red Bull probably doesn't do him all the justice that he deserves. And if you could bring the Alpine team up all the way from the back of the pack all the way to the front, that would be simply incredible. Ooh, this is interesting. Mercedes, they have brought out George Russell with tufts of string on the halo. This is a very, very old school aerodynamic tactic. And not something that you see in Formula One every day. Not something that I've ever seen, to be honest. If you folks have watched Ford versus Ferrari, maybe you'll know what I'm talking about. But essentially, what they've done is they have they've taped pieces of string to George Russell's halo, and essentially whichever direction the string is pointing is an indication of where the air is flowing. What direction is that air flowing in? And the other thing is, if the string just suddenly stops moving, you know that the area of that sort of that part of the bodywork, that the air around that section has stalled, and it is essentially not producing any sort of downforce. And yeah, the Mercedes pieces of string, they're all, they're moving pretty consistently. They're moving according to what you would expect. But it's interesting. We haven't seen this in a very, very long time. And I don't know if we ever will, really. But yeah, it's good to see them using some old school aerodynamic tactics and some data gathering information. And yeah, Mercedes, they've brought tweaks to their halo this weekend, and hence they've got those tufts of string out on the halo. George Russell set a very quick lap there. Fastest in the first sector, and half a second behind Max Verstappen. So there's still room for improvement, but nonetheless, done a good job so far. Is that illegal, the tape string thing? Well, considering it's practice, it doesn't really matter. And the tape string thing is only it's acting like a sensor effectively, and they will take it off at the end of practice because it is increasing drag for no reason. Yeah, it is essentially a free wind tunnel sort of thing, isn't it? Why are the sprites that big, or is the track that small? The sprites, the driver's circles are just a lot bigger, just for people that are watching on their phones, so they can read which driver is where. I will probably make them a bit smaller. We've had a couple of people talk about that so far, but yeah. A piece of string increasing drag, how light are those cars? Well, it's not increasing weight, it's increasing drag, and it just ruins the airflow a little bit. A piece of string moving around. These Formula One cars are very intricately designed pieces of machinery, so a little mess up here and there can affect things quite a bit downstream. At that halo, there's not going to be too much of an impact of the string moving around, but as they move maybe a meter back while they encounter all of the bodywork and everything along those lines, I think there will be a little bit more disturbance at the rear wing than you would have normally had. Max Verstappen going wide through turn number 7 there. On the exit of turn number 7, but getting up on the curb, and fairly standard stuff. the curb. A little bit dusty and dirty, but I think as the F2 and the F3 goes out for their respective sessions, we will see that dust and dirt be blown away as the junior drivers in the junior formulas will be exploring all different parts of the circuit. Okay, owing to drivers have switched to softs. Can you switch back to the mini sectors? You know what? Yeah, they're doing quick runs. I might as well go and switch to the mini sectors. Just give me a second, folks. I'll be changing that just now. There we go, we've got the mini sectors up. We'll have a couple of drivers doing hot laps now. Oscar Piastri, he's done a personal best time on a set of soft tyres. Max Verstappen has improved significantly as well. And this is Max Verstappen's favourite circuit by the looks of it. There are so many Dutch fans that come to watch the race at Spa. I've heard it's a fair amount cheaper than it is at Zandvoort as well. And the circuit, of course, is a lot longer. So the drivers, there's a lot more room for people to watch Formula One. Yeah. And Max Verstappen, he's been going around pretty well. He's 7/10 up on Oscar Piastri, and it seems like, I don't know if they put in the fresh engine as of now, but it seems like they have, because Max Verstappen is absolutely dominating up at the top of the pack. Oh, his mother is from Belgium. Very, very interesting. I did not know that. All right. Is Verstappen's car that much better? Is McLaren not trying? Well, it is practice after all. McLaren, they find themselves in a championship battle, potentially. They'll be fighting at least for the constructors as soon as, while Sergio Perez is not scoring any points for the Red Bull team. They will find themselves competing for the Constructors' Championship, and hence, because of that, they know that they're going to have to score as many points as possible in the upcoming races, and hence, I guess they might have turned their engines down a little bit, knowing that they would like to conserve as much possible engine wear and minimise the amount of engine wear as much as possible to ensure that they don't have to take an engine penalty late on in the season, and they don't have to, they don't DNF through during a race or anything like that. What is the race this weekend time? What is the race? Will be the race will start in 25 minutes. So whatever the respective time is in wherever you are in the world, if you add 25 minutes onto that, that is when the stream will start, for the race on Sunday. And the race itself will start in 55 minutes time on Sunday. So yeah, I'm sure you guys could work that out. Add on 55 minutes to wherever you are, and then that's the time the race will be starting on Sunday. Okay, VCARB is so fast in Sector 1, but slower than most of the cars in Sector 2. Indeed, that is the compromise you have to make. Sector 1 and Sector 3, they are very, very long straights. You've got you've got the main straight, well, the start-finish straight, and then you've got the run down the hill and then up the hill through Eau Rouge and Radion, and then the Kenmore straight till you get to Le Combe chicane. That is all Sector 1, and that is pretty much all flat out apart from turn number 1. In Sector 1, there is only one corner, and that's turn number 1. In Sector 3, you've got maybe 2 or 3 corners, and then, of course, the final chicane at the end as well. But apart from that, that is all basically straights as well. The middle sector is where all of the corners are, and that's why you can see the AlphaTauris. They are very quick through the first sector, very quick through the third sector, but in the middle sector, they are struggling because they don't have as much downforce. Sergio Perez as well, coming over the radio saying, in the medium speed corners, I don't have a feeling of what's going on with the car, and he's complaining to his engineers about that. So we'll see if they can do anything to fix that and rectify it. But I'm sure they will, because that's the engineers' jobs, and they do a pretty good job at it, considering Red Bull are currently top of the constructors' standings. Alex Albon purple there in the first sector. Yeah, very nice start to his lap, and yeah, seemed to be doing pretty well through the first sector. We'll wait and see what he can do through the middle sector. Maybe they knock down the downforce a little bit, and yeah. Why the icons becoming smaller at turn number 14? Turn number 14. I don't think they're becoming smaller at turn number 14. Oh yeah, they are. I have absolutely no idea why that is happening. I'm going to be honest with you. Does it happen for Alex Albon? No, it doesn't happen for Albon. It happened for Leclerc. No idea. No idea, honestly. Hungarian Grand Prix was pure drama. Indeed it was. There was so much drama. Like, there wasn't that much on-track action, but the amount of drama that was going on was ridiculous. Here comes Alex Albon through the bus-stop chicane. He's had a pretty good lap so far. He's on a set of soft tyres. Williams haven't brought any upgrades this weekend. Only 3 teams this weekend haven't brought upgrades. Williams is one of them, but Alex Albon does not care, and he goes up to 3rd place anyway. So nice job there from Alex Albon, up into 3rd place for the youngster. Well, he's not really, is he a youngster anymore? I'm not sure. He's been in Formula 1 for quite a while, but yeah, the amount of radio drama is last weekend was ridiculous, and honestly I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was very, very enjoyable to watch, and yeah, hope to see more of it. Well, I hope to see a lot more on-track action firstly, and then, you know, if we get a bit more radio action as well, I will not take that badly. Yes, that is a good point, Remy. Thank you for pointing that out. I totally forgot about that. So, Aston Martin, they told Lance Stroll to swap positions with Fernando Alonso, and Lance Stroll did not swap positions whatsoever. Yeah, this was totally swept under the rug because everyone was so focused on what was happening at McLaren, rightfully so. They were up in 1st and 2nd position and not swapping places. Lando Norris has a lock-up going into the bus stop chicane, locking up the front right tyre as he turns into the first right-hander. Yeah, fairly standard lock-up, and then he goes into the pits after making a fairly significant flat spot on his tyre. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Aston Martin. Yeah, Lance Stroll was told to swap positions with Fernando Alonso. I don't think he even responded over the radio, or maybe he did, but he didn't end up swapping positions with Fernando Alonso. And I think Lance Stroll was just like, what are you going to do? Are you going to fire me? Because my dad owns the company. So yeah, I'm just not going to listen to you. Like, I don't know what Lance Stroll was doing there. And yeah, that totally got swept under the rug because McLaren were just having a lot of drama. A lot of drama. Probably far too much, honestly. How did you encode this data or the tracker? It's called Multiviewer, but you need a paid subscription for it. So yeah. What happened to Ocon? Ocon had an issue right at the start, actually. How many laps has Esteban Ocon done? I don't think he's done many laps whatsoever. Yeah, Esteban Ocon, he had an issue right at the start of practice. Coming out of the pit lane, he had some sort of issue with his engine. It wasn't starting properly. He did, a full out lap and everything, but then came back into the pits and that was that, and he hasn't come out since. So some sort of issue down at Esteban Ocon's side of the garage. But yeah, Esteban Ocon was doing a practice start, so maybe something to do with the clutch, something to do with the gearbox, but I'm not sure. The funny thing is that Stroll's time is limited as his dad sells more of the team to other investors who get a controlling stake. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure as time will pass, something will happen to Lance Stroll. But yeah, Verstappen over the radio saying, "What do you think of the timings?" I think they are Verstappen top of the timings by half a second. His moods are sounding a lot better, and he's also messing around a little bit with his engineers, having a bit of a playful chat with him. So it's good. It's a lot better than what the radio messages were like at Hungary, where there was a whole lot of swearing and a whole lot of anger in what the drivers were saying. Right, I'm gonna have a quick sip of water, folks. Water. Oh, no, I'm not gonna say water. It's water. And 19 minutes remaining of this session, and we have got Max Verstappen top of the timings, Oscar Piastri in second place, Alex Albon in third, and the two Mercs in fourth and fifth position. Right. Right. What was the pole time last year? That is a good question. Let's have a look. Was it raining last year? Spa 2023 pole time. It was a 146.1. But I think there were changeable conditions, because in Q1 and Q2 the lap times were up in the 150s, so it was wet at the start of Q1 and Q2. It got dry and the drivers did go out on soft tyres by the end of Q3, but very slow conditions at Spa for quali last year, and this year it's not even going to matter really, because the lap time from last year isn't going to matter because it's going to be raining for qualifying tomorrow, folks. It is forecast to rain, 80% chance that it will be raining in tomorrow's qualifying session, and it's forecast to rain the entire day in Spa tomorrow. And honestly, I'm going to say that is great news. Simply lovely. Right. How's it going? It's going great. Forecast of rain for tomorrow. Max Verstappen back up at the top, and I think that's not going to last very, very long, but we'll wait and see. Max, of course, with a 10-place grid penalty as well. He will get a grid penalty. He's got a new engine as well, so we'll see how it goes. The map is bigger, yeah. There've been a couple of people saying make the map smaller, make it a bit bigger, but it's just a compromise, because there are a couple of people watching. Well, not a couple. There's quite a lot of people watching on their laptops. A couple of people watching on their phones. A couple of people watching on TVs, and because of that, we just have to kind of pick a size that fits most people rather than perfectly for your phone. In an ideal world, I could probably YouTube would have an option for me to change sizes for different phones, different screen sizes, but don't think that's going to happen. How many laps of this circuit? It will be 42 or 43 laps of racing on Sunday. It's a 7-kilometer long circuit, so 43 laps does the full 300 kilometers of required by the FIA. Even with the 10-place grid penalty, Lando would somehow manage to lose the position to Max for pole. Indeed, Lando has just got a history of terrible starts, and I think that is totally fixable. I'm going to be honest with you here, because the teams are allowed to do testing on cars from previous years, and because of that, what they can do is they can get the car from 2022, and they can take the car out, take it to Silverstone, and basically get Lando Norris to just do loads of race starts, perfect his clutch performance. Now, of course, doing it in a simulator is not the same thing. The drivers have to, you can't totally simulate the same feeling of wheel spin and the grip levels on the circuit on that day or whatever. But Lando Norris fixing his race starts and improving on those is a very actionable thing that McLaren can do. They have the facilities. They can just take the 2022 car, which will probably have very, very similar clutch settings to the current car, because the gearbox doesn't change all that much, because the engine hasn't changed all that much in the previous 2 years. And yeah, so what they'll do is they'll just take him to the starting grid. He does like 50, 100 race starts, and then calls it a day. I think that is that would really help out Lando Norris, but who knows? Yeah, I mean, wait, what was I going to say? What happened to Ocon? Ocon has a water leak. Well, thank you for the information. That explains why he hasn't come out of the pit lane, and he had that issue. But yeah, he's sat in the garage. In fact, he's not sat in the garage. He's out of the car. The car's up on a bunch of stilts, and there is so many mechanics crowding around the engine cover. They'll be looking to fix that water leak as soon as possible. Watching my laptop too, but I've got a browser extension that allows me to hide the chunky tab search bookmarks bar. Yeah, to make the website full screen. Fair enough. That is seems alright. Yeah, Kevin Mangus' radio saying Fox instead of Box. Indeed, it's AI that's doing the radio transcriptions, and that's why there are the odd mistakes here and there. 13 minutes remain of this FP1 session, and the drivers have done their soft tyre runs. Now they're out on their long, hard, medium tyre runs. And in fact, we're seeing a couple of drivers doing a bit of long runs on softs as well, actually. Normally, the strategy around this circuit is a one-stop, start on the mediums, then go on to the hards. But we may see drivers start on the softs, then go on to the hards as a bit of an alternate strategy, because you do gain a lot of time on those soft tyres. They are significantly quicker than the mediums, and especially through that middle sector, when if you have the same tyres as the driver ahead of you, it becomes very, very difficult to stay on the tail of someone through that middle sector and keep within DRS range. But when you have those soft tyres, you have that extra a bit of an advantage, and you should be fine going into the middle sector and trying to stay behind the driver ahead of you. All right. Did Red Bull bring any upgrades this weekend? No, they did not. We have 7 teams that have brought upgrades, and it'll be easy just to say which teams haven't brought upgrades, and those 3 teams are Red Bull haven't brought upgrades, neither has Aston Martin, neither has Williams. So essentially that is what it is. Those 3 teams, Aston Martin and Red Bull, they brought massive upgrades last weekend. In fact, both teams brought the biggest upgrade package of the season last weekend, so that explains why they don't have an upgrade package this weekend. Williams just a bit slow on their development side of things, and that's why they're at the back of the pack. And yeah. Okay, what does the number 5 column represent? Number of laps completed. The number 5 column represents the number of laps completed on that set of tyres. So, yeah. And since the drivers are all back on long runs by the looks of it, I am in fact going to switch it back to the testing / practice. So yeah, on the left-hand side of the screen, you've got the number of total laps that the drivers have done, which is around about 16, 17 for most drivers. And then on the right next to the tyres, you've got the age, which is the number of laps that the drivers have done on those specific tyres. And also you can see the top speeds. It still looks like Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, both of them 3:41 down the Kemmel straight, so the quickest out of all of the drivers on in the paddock so far. Alright, Max will get a penalty due to the engine change. Indeed, that is correct, folks. Max Verstappen is taking a brand new engine for this weekend, and that is why he will be getting a 10-second time penalty. Not 10-second time, 10-place grid penalty, sorry. Hi, just woke up, sorry I'm late. 7:20 here, indeed. Well, good to see you here, buddy. We'll have FP2 starting in a couple of hours. In fact, FP2, the stream for FP2 will start in 2 hours and 8 minutes. But yeah, we've got FP1 on for now. When do you think Mick Schumacher will return to Formula One? Ooh, I don't know if that's a when question. I think that's more of an if question. I think he's Mercedes' test driver. He's been doing fairly well outside of Formula One. He's been doing a lot of time on the sim, but I think if Mercedes would have seen something promising in him, which he's had a lot of time in Formula One, he's driven the Haas car, he's driven that Ferrari-powered Haas, for a couple of years, and he just wasn't going anywhere. He was making mistakes here and there which weren't helpful, but that time that most drivers get, he got more time than most drivers get, really. We've seen Nick de Vries get into Formula One and then get kicked out in a matter of, halfway through a season, really. And Mick Schumacher, because of his name, because of his family legacy, he got a lot of time in Formula One, and we didn't see a whole lot of improvement. We saw in F2, it took him a while to build up to that full speed and then go on to potentially challenge for the championship. But in Formula One, that never really came to fruition. He never exceeded expectations that everyone had for him, and maybe that was a bit too much on his shoulders. Maybe not, but nonetheless, I don't know if we will see Mick Schumacher back in Formula One. Did you see the Alpine livery yet? What's your rating of it? Honestly, I don't think it is all that great. It looks kind of cool as a one-off livery, but I would say I wouldn't want to see Alpine driving around in those colours every single weekend. Yeah. Ooh, Charles Leclerc a little wide going through turn number 7. We saw Alex Albon go wide through there as well. Yeah, a lot of drivers going over the edge of the curbs, bringing a lot of gravel onto the circuit. In fact, on the exit of turn number 7, there is so much gravel that off the racing line that maybe the drivers are at a much higher risk of a puncture there. There's quite a lot of gravel that has been deposited because of drivers just going wide on the exit and sucking or just bringing that gravel over to the side. Yeah, not ideal, really. Lewis Hamilton has been complaining about bouncing a little bit. So yeah, the team not doing... the Mercedes, they've brought upgrades this weekend. The upgrades maybe not working as well as they would have liked because they are suffering from bouncing issues. We saw it at the start of FP1 as well. Russell and Hamilton, both of them, their skid blocks were really getting worn out just going down the straights. Maybe a little bit of porpoising, I'm not sure. Maybe their ride heights were just a little bit too low. But they are scraping along the ground, and they're going to have to rectify that, otherwise they will get disqualified by the FIA, like Lewis Hamilton did get disqualified in the US Grand Prix last year, and so did Charles Leclerc, both drivers getting disqualified for excessive skid plate wear on their cars. Right, folks. Why the engineers speak always with such a posh English accent? I'm probably because they are from England. Quite a lot of them are from England. I don't know about posh English accent, but yeah. When are you bringing the lap comparison data back? I've thought about it a little bit, and I've thought about how to get it back, but it is far too much effort than it's worth, if I'm going to be honest, because it would sort of ruin the look. Well, not even just ruin the look. There's no way that I can get the lap comparison data up on this software, and I have to use a totally different software that looks a lot worse than this current software. So I'm probably not going to get the lap comparison thing working anytime soon. Maybe in this current software, if I can find a way to tweak it, I'll add it, but yeah, it's a bit difficult as of now. If it rains on race day, that 10-place penalty for Max might not be such a big issue. Anything can happen. Indeed, that is true, but it looks like it will not be raining on race day. It looks like it will more likely be raining on quali day, and it will be dry conditions for race day. So that is what the forecast is saying, but we know the forecast can be awfully wrong at times. So let's wait and see what actually happens. I didn't know that Williams had so much straight line speed like last year. Yeah, Williams tend to always have quite a lot of straight line speed. It's sort of their design philosophy. I think maybe it's sort of an internal rule within the team that when they design their aerodynamics, they have to be hitting a certain efficiency target. We saw this with I think back in the day when they were called Racing Point or Force India, they were also very, very slippery in a straight line. And yeah, it's something that's worked out well for Williams and worked out well for Force India. So yeah, it's something that we just continue seeing from them time and time again. What happened to Esteban? Alpine have had problems. Yes, the Esteban Ocon has got a water leak. There is loads of engineers standing around his car. The engine cover's off. They're trying to fix the car. But yeah, that's the situation down at Alpine. Pierre Gasly has been lapping all right, but Esteban Ocon's car is in for some repairs. Ocon to Haas. Poor Behrman, indeed. Ocon hasn't got the best reputation for being a good teammate. Has had quite a few incidents with Sergio Perez, has had an incident with Pierre Gasly. So Oliver Behrman might have a tough time. Maybe Oliver Behrman will just be so much quicker than Esteban Ocon. He's not going to be at the same part of the race circuit. Who knows what will happen? But yeah, that is a question for next year. And to be honest, this year we have still got so much action in store for us. I'm not going to be thinking about next year for quite a while. Do you think Behrman will get a seat in 2025? He has got a seat in 2025. He has been signed by the Haas team for next year. How do you remember the corner names? Well, I used to actually remember all of the corner names kind of just off by heart. I forgot them, but now I have once again remembered them. So you've got turn number 2 and 3, that is Eau Rouge, then Radion. Then you've got the Camel Straight going down where Bottas and Zhou are. Where Charles Leclerc is and Gasly and Perez, that is the Les Combes chicanes. Then you have got turn number 12 where Kevin Magnussen is, or turn number 11, depending on how you count, that is Pouon. And then turn number 14 where Verstappen is right now, that is Stavelot. Then you've got Blanchimont at turn number 16, and then you've got the bus stop chicane right at the end of the circuit. So yeah, how do I remember all of them? I guess I just like Formula 1 quite a lot, and considering I'm commentating it, I guess that's pretty true. And yeah, because I like it, I guess I remember it. It's very interesting. Like if you had to learn a certain set of words, like if you were asked to remember the first page of the Harry Potter books, it would be incredibly difficult to remember. Whereas if you were remembering the lyrics for a song that you like, remembering those lyrics isn't all that hard because you have a little rhythm to go along with you. And it's kind of the same thing for Formula 1. Because I'm so interested in it, it makes it a lot easier to remember things. Yeah. Right, why are the likes and the subs delayed? I think they're delayed by a couple of seconds here and there because the YouTube things don't work all the way at real time, but yeah. Alright folks, let me know what your predictions are. We've had our first practice session. We've got 15 seconds remaining, in fact. But based off these, what do you think is going to happen in the race? It's tough to say, but Red Bull seem to be doing well again. We know that Red Bull do struggle at slow speed circuits. Hungary was one of them, so maybe they were the second fastest team at Hungary, but maybe once again back at Spa they will be the fastest team. it's tough to say. McLaren, maybe they know that they're in the constructors fight now. They know they're in the championship fight. They're going to turn their engine modes down even more in practice, just to make sure that they don't get any sort of engine failure in race conditions or in qualifying conditions. Mercedes have brought upgrades this weekend. They were meant to be super quick, but they've been suffering issues of the car bouncing about. So if they can fix those in time for FP2, then that would be very helpful. Or maybe even for FP3, when they'll do some simulator work overnight. Ferrari, a little bit further down the pack, they tend to be better at slow speed circuits, so Spa is not going to be their forte. But that has been FP1, folks. The drivers are just going to come around, do some launches off the grid to dial their clutch settings in for the race on Sunday. FP2 will be starting in the FP2 stream is starting in 2 hours time. The FP2 race itself will be starting not the FP2 race, FP2 session will be starting in 2.5 hours time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It has been a pleasure commentating to you all. Very much do appreciate all the support, all the likes and all the subscriptions. If we could get to our subscriber target, if we could get to a like target, that'd be brilliant. If not, very much do appreciate you guys being here and tuning into the coverage. I'm going to end the stream. It'll take you over to the stream for FP2. Just go ahead, press the like button on the FP2 stream as well. It really helps the channel out massively. Like, I cannot state enough how the YouTube algorithm loves likes on a live stream before it actually starts. But that has been the end of the coverage today, folks, and I will see you in 2 hours time for free practice 2. Thank you very much, folks, and it's been a pleasure commentating. See you later. Cheers, fellas.